Hey, remember this outfit? That's right! We're going to lever knitting part 2. Today I'm going to talk about alternative methods to working this technique. Wow, that was so professional. I like to think. We'll see. We'll see if it was so professional when I actually play back the recording. Hey all y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Carrie. And this is where I talk about my opinions, my preferences about knitting. There is a part 1 to this video. I will link it down below, and if I figure it out, up above here, that you'll want to watch before diving into this one, because that video covers a lot of ground about lever knitting. Now in that video, I shared with you my favorite approach to lever knitting, but like all knitting techniques, there's more than one way to do this. And so I'm going to share some alternative methods so you can figure out how lever knitting can work best for you. And also, if you're an English knitter, there might be some things in here, even if you don't want to become a lever knitter, there might be some techniques in this video that you can adapt to how you're already knitting that can just give you a little bit more efficiency, a little bit more speed, and a little bit more comfort. You know what though? I'll be honest, we always talk about knitting faster. I'm not necessarily the biggest proponent of getting caught up in the idea of knitting faster. Sure, being able to knit quickly is nice, but more importantly than knitting quickly, because if you're knitting quickly but you're in pain or you're not getting good even tension, what does it matter? More important than speed really is having good even tension, enjoying the process, and not having pain. That is everything. Speed of knitting is way down on the list. I think we get too caught up in thinking that, oh, I gotta knit faster, I gotta knit faster, as if knitting faster is the metric of being a proficient knitter. It's not. What makes you a proficient knitter is, are you producing good quality work? That's it. That's the only bar that any of us need to be judging our knitting by, is are we producing good quality work? And hopefully some of the techniques I share today will help you produce good quality work. Way to bring it back around. Okay, rant over. As always, I have timestamp below in case you want to skip around to any part of the video. Let's knit. In the first video, I talked a lot about the pencil grip, where you hold the needle in the crook of your thumb and your forefinger just act as guardrails. And this is a very comfortable way of knitting for me. However, maybe you don't want to make this adjustment. Maybe you just really feel way more comfortable with the knife grip. That's fine. You can totally do lever knitting utilizing a knife grip. There's just a small adjustment that you make to tensioning the yarn. When using the pencil grip like this, I tension the yarn by bringing my middle finger up under the yarn, twisting it around, and over my ring finger like this. Okay? But if you want to use the knife grip, you start the same way. You just bring your forefinger underneath the yarn. So the working yarn is also over your forefinger. That's it. That's the only adjustment. This is what it looks like. I'm not the most proficient utilizing this method, but notice that I'm still using my left needle to bring stitches on and off of the needle. And my right needle is still being held relatively still. The one thing about doing it this way, and maybe other people will have a different experience, I've never been able to figure out how to do it this way without my right hand letting go of the needle. Maybe there is a way to do it. I don't pretend to know every alternative, but because that would be more ideal to me. But letting go of the right needle is also not a huge deal once the work gets started. The right needle doesn't flop around, it's not unstable. I'm not really having to use my left hand either to hold it still. Now I'll do some purl stitches. One advantage to this method is when I hold the knife grip, when I get further along the row, there comes a point where the work sort of backs up into my thumb. and I have to make sure that I bring my thumb underneath the fabric like this. However, with the knife grip, I never have to make that kind of adjustment. Something to be careful about, however, with this method of bringing the yarn over your forefinger and utilizing the knife grip is not to stress out your forefinger by pulling really tightly back. Like, keep as little tension in your forefinger as possible, and just kind of trust that you're going to get enough tension. So the key to lever knitting, again, is really more about using your left needle to load stitches on and off of your right needle and keeping your right needle still. So there are other ways that you can tension your yarn. The way I used to do it, I think truthfully, it's hard for me to remember exactly how I used to tension my yarn before I discovered this method, but I think what I used to do was wrap it around my pinky finger, bring it over my ring finger, under my middle finger, and then over my forefinger. And you can totally do lever knitting this way as well. The way that I tension my yarn around my pinky finger, that's one way of doing it. There's many ways of doing it. You can tension around your pinky finger, just bringing it over the top of these two and then over your forefinger. Another way of doing it is to wrap the yarn around your pinky finger, go under the ring finger, over the middle finger, under and around the forefinger like this. Another option is to go around your pinky, over your ring finger, under your middle finger, over your forefinger and around. Another option is to go around your pinky, over both your ring finger and your middle finger, under your forefinger and around. A lot of this is personal preference and what's going to work for you. So if you find that you are more comfortable knitting with the knife grip and tensioning your yarn in some form or fashion that I demonstrated in, fantastic. Again, as long as you are getting good tension, enjoying your knitting, and are pain-free, those are the most important things. One other variation of lever knitting that I'm just going to touch upon, because I would say it's kind of an arcane way of knitting. Well, that sounds judgmental, and I don't want to be judgmental, but it's not a very prevalent way of knitting, and that's what's called underarm knitting. So underarm knitting involves this bad boy. This is a 14-inch straight needle. Normally you see this for like knitting blankets or something like that on a straight needle. And the reason that you need such a long needle is because you actually take the needle and you stick it under your arm thusly, like that. So you need to have enough length of the needle to be sticking out from your body in order to be doing the work. It is possible to do underarm knitting with a 10-inch needle. I've done it. For me personally, that's not too terribly comfortable because I'm a little chesty. Okay, so I'm going to take my 14-inch bad boy needle and stick it under my armpit. And I'm going to tension my yarn just as I would have if I was knitting with my circular needles. One thing about knitting this way is I do kind of have to figure out where I'm going to put my right hand, but I tend to just kind of have it resting here next to the right needle. But the right needle is being totally supported in my armpit. Now I'm going to bring my left needle up and wrap. And one thing about knitting this way, I mean, you're dealing with a 14-inch needle. You hold the needle more vertical so that your needle is perpendicular, and that makes it a little bit easier. One thing about doing this though, if you want to learn how to do lever knitting and you're struggling with keeping your right needle still, underarm knitting can be a way to train yourself to do that, because your right hand is just not involved at all with controlling that right needle. So that's just kind of a fun variation on lever knitting. If you want to give it a go, I recommend a 14-inch needle, most easily found online. This one is from, they're called Suzanne's. This is a wood needle, by the way. This is one of the few wood needles I have in my collection. It's made from recycled piano, which I think is kind of cool. And it's pretty. It's a very pretty needle. Sadly, I don't really love knitting with wood needles. That's another video. I've really enjoyed making these two videos. I love this style of knitting, and I'm just so excited to share it with people, especially if you're an English style knitter who's been considering trying continental, which I'm not opposed to, by the way. There's a lot of nice things about continental knitting. I know I'm always like, I hate it, and it's not my favorite way to knit, but I encourage people to learn how to knit however they like to knit. And I'm glad I know how to knit continental because it is a useful tool in my toolbox. My preference is just for English knitting. And if you're an English knitter and you felt pressure to try to learn how to knit continental because you've been told it's faster or it's more efficient or you get better tension or whatever it is, I hope these two videos will show you that there are adjustments that you can make to how you knit that can get you great results. Hey, maybe you're a continental knitter who doesn't really like continental knitting. You can come over to the English side of the world. It is allowed, I promise. So thank you for watching. I hope you got something useful out of it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of what I'm going to share on my channel, because I got plans, I got so many plans, please hit subscribe and the notification bell, which will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And share with your friends. Maybe you got some knitting friends and you're like, hey, she's fun, or hey, she has some interesting ideas. You should check her out. Please share me. Share me with my friends. Share me with my friends. Share me with your friends. All my social media is listed down below, and I am on Ravelry, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram. So I think that's everything for today. Happy knitting. Bye. So there's actually going to be a part 2. Oh, geez. I looked like I was flicking people off in the UK. Where you hold the thumb in the crook. You hold your thumb. Your thumb is attached to your body. You don't have to hold it. One is, son of a... My overhead camera cut off. Which is even why I learned continental knitting and I never recorded. Son of... Serenity now. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. I have wet mouth. Most people have dry mouth. I have problem with too much spit. Anyway. TMI.